Chris Collins is our guest on the WBEN Liveline, former Erie County executive running for the newly redrawn 27th Congressional District. Chris, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Susan. John, how are you today?
Great, thanks for the time. Listen, primary day in June is rare. How big a challenge is it going to be to get people to remember to vote tomorrow?
Well, you're exactly right, and I want to thank you for even doing what you're doing today, and hopefully tomorrow reminding people there is an election in June, which hasn't happened in close to 40 years. So getting out the vote is our focus the next 2 days, and that is the challenge, certainly, in this election.
Chris, when we talked earlier with David Bellavia, we mentioned that he and you were sort of essentially not that much different when it comes to the philosophy of being a congressman in this new district. So, Chris, with that said, why should folks vote for you tomorrow?
Well, John, I think it comes back to my 36 years experience creating jobs in the private sector, coupled with 4 years in the public sector, reducing spending and cutting the size of Erie County government. And we need more jobs in America. We need less spending in Washington with a balanced budget. So my resume and my 36 years experience in the private sector, coupled with 4 years as Erie County executive, I think present a resume to the voters that's frankly very different than my opponent's resume.
We're all hearing, Chris, that the 27th Congressional District is being redrawn. How do you describe the changes to this district?
Well, it is now the most conservative Republican district in the state, and I would say the judge did an excellent job. She took away the gerrymandering that had occurred in the past, and what she did was put voters of, the urban voters, the city voters are together in Brian Higgins' district, and she took the suburban and rural more or less and put it in this new 27th that now contains 105 towns spread over 8 counties and 5,200 square miles. So it's contiguous. It meets what you define as good government, and I think the judge did an excellent job in drawing these district boundaries.
Chris, this guy down in Florida who's operating this website that is saying unkind things about you and your candidacy, do you know this guy? Do you know why he is doing this?
Well, no, I guess it simply stated my opponent's campaign has not really caught fire, and what people do when they're desperate they do desperate things, and certainly that's occurred in this election. It's fairly typical in politics. We're effectively ignoring the nonsense and talking about jobs, and we're talking about reduced spending in Washington. So it's what happens in politics, so we just let that, we just move past it.
All right, we are all awaiting the Affordable Care Act decision from the Supreme Court this week. I'm wondering, what are you hoping for in the justice's decision, Chris?
Well, certainly I'm hoping that we repeal Obamacare. Obamacare decimates Medicare, and the support of Kathy Hochul for Obamacare would be very problematic when it comes to Medicare Advantage. We just don't need a government takeover. Government does not do much well when it comes to spending our money, and certainly I am hopeful that it gets struck down completely, and if not, as a member of Congress, I will certainly vote to repeal Obamacare.
Mr. Collins, your district will include a lot of folks who are struggling to keep their farms. What is your position on these folks?
Well, one of the biggest issues we have, well, two. One, let's repeal the death tax that threatens many of our family farms. But secondly, we need to deal with immigration reform, especially for the dairy farmers. And my suggestion has been to give the farmers permanent visas. If they need 40 workers, you give the farmer 40 permanent visas. He gets his workers who work 24/7, and if someone leaves, he brings in another worker because the visa is with the farmer. And the laborers on dairy farms are a major, major issue, and that's where I think we have a common sense proposal to deal with that.
Thanks for joining us, Chris. Good luck tomorrow.
Well, thank you, Susan. John, have a great day.
You too. That's Chris Collins, former Erie County executive. He, along with David Bellavia, running for the newly redrawn 27th Congressional District in a primary tomorrow.